Just answering questions with WAPTech. Red text in your sentences on YouTube. It's more likely than you think. Comments posted under YouTube videos or in the description for a video. Letters, words, or sentences changing. Auto-deleting. Getting redlined or red-lettered. While you're typing them. After you type them. Even on your own channel, whether a comment or a description in a video. Been having this problem for a while now because YouTube did a couple of things. Number one, I'm going to go on a rant about Macintoshes. Macintosh, Linux, and PC machines have this little white space end-of-line war. There are certain characters that are not printable. They're not visible. You can view them if you open up a file and view its binary code or force it to show hidden characters. Now, this isn't some mysterious thing. It's for when you come to the end of a line and then start a new one. The end of line is here, and then carriage return is over here. Those are two separate functions. To save one byte, you could just say carriage return or line feed equals go here. That's what PCs do, and Linux machines can use that as a setting. On a Macintosh, it will interpret the carriage return or the end of line to mean make another space over here, which means it'll intentionally insert two spaces when it's really clear that a carriage return line feed or line feed carriage return or any combination of many, many characters really just means move the line over here. Originally, a long time ago, the line feed would be used with tabs or stops or caret or cursor movements to draw things on a page. But that's not done anymore for simple text activities. Those are ignored. And they just amount to start new line. Unless it says carriage return, tick, tick, or line feed, which is overtly saying make another line, there's no reason to assume that the system is wanting you to do double space, double lines. So, of course, some systems, I'm complaining about Macintoshes, but it can be any system, will do that. And when you type up the description in a YouTube video and use a browser that's old enough, meaning YouTube doesn't like it anymore, it will intentionally harangue you by inserting extra line feeds. If I highlight something and hit the delete key, it will also run about 12 carriage returns to the bottom of the page that I'm typing, so I have to scoot all the way up. Now guess what else it can do at that point? It can insert the line feeds and carriage returns almost, I'm not kidding, it is malicious behavior, to where it inserts a bunch of data there that I never typed. I hit the delete key while holding the shift key down, or the control key or whatever, and it says, oh, you meant to insert a bunch of random characters. Or it'll cut and paste something I did an hour ago. Now, the reason I'm saying this is intentional or aggressive or whatever is that this is a breakage of the user interface for anyone using a browser that's old enough. There isn't any excuse for this. It's not my system freaking out. And also, for some of you who have seen red text when you type something slightly controversial looking. I want to point this out. I'm not trying to generalize, but a lot of people who type controversial statements do what I call blind typing. Same thing I do. You start typing, and then you look at what you typed and then correct it. You're typing out a long sentence or a paragraph of data. I'm posting an entire debunking in text mode under a video because I just don't want to make a video about it. And it's only one person on the internet that got confused about a UFO 5 years ago. I'm not going to make the video, most likely. You may have noticed I make the video anyway. Why? Because when I try to put it in there, unless I type it over here in a text editor that is so simple it can't do any of this bullshit, it will insert random invisible characters, carriage return, line feeds, tabs, and all sorts of shit. And paragraph settings. What? Yeah, formatting data, cascading style sheets, entire hunks of code. I've typed in a sentence that was 4 words long, and it said you've exceeded your character limit. When I cut and pasted it and opened it up in a simple text editor, there was a wall of random code in there that was showing up as bang splats, as we used to call it. And when I viewed it, it was all carriage return line feeds, and more importantly, a backup copy of everything I just typed that I had to correct, including spell checking that I enabled for 4 seconds like an idiot. And that brings us to the next layer. Your browser, any plugin, your operating system, any software you have on the computer, the website, in this case YouTube, and any experimental code they're running could do this, or all of them. That and the fact that it happens slightly more often with dark mode or night mode. And it may not be red text, it just changes the color of it. It can be caused by a whole bunch of things that might be on your computer, or cell phone or device, your browser, a plugin you put on your browser, the website itself. I mean, there's like 6 layers of shit that could go wrong here. Not to mention that you could have visited a website and your browser gets confused and retains the CSS, the cascading style sheet from that website. If you're watching a YouTube video that's embedded on Facebook, it can do this. Even if you navigate away from Facebook and you're on YouTube, it could still have code lingering in RAM. This cross-site contamination was actually much worse in the old days. And now we get to the last stage. You have to tell me what browser you're using and what version number it says it is. If it says it's Coconut, because you're dealing with Mac-like naming conventions, send the programmers an annoying message saying, just give us a version number or a time and date stamp. All version numbers should be time and date stamps. It's April 15th of 2022 should be the version number, or whatever they want to call it. And that's not even the right formatting, because that's really what it is. Whenever a piece of software is put out. So I have to know your operating system and the version. And yes, there's more than one version of Windows 10, even though they're lying about it. Browser, same thing. All the plugins. Suddenly I'm learning everything about your life, trying to figure out how to fix this. And then lastly, on the butt end of this, your web cache. Your cookies could do this. Cookies can get infected. It could be a virus from a website that only works while your web browser has that session active, and if it backs up a copy of it. Most of you don't know this, but your cell phone especially, and a PC even sometimes, can retain an entire set of sessions from a month ago, and it can have corrupted code can do this too. So let's review. Comments, letters, words, sentences, changing while you're typing them. Changing color while you're typing them, making it to where you can't remove them or add them, burying them under carriage returns and line feeds if you do enough of them to where you can't see them. All of this can be caused by YouTube and or your browser and or plugins and or a virus or helper program and or the cascading style sheet failing and 100 other layers. And also just because of just a generic screw up. Autocorrect can also cause this. Autocorrect does things on your web browser or on your operating system. There could be 2 different ones. And also on the website, they can do that. Dark mode just changes what background and foreground colors are. If you have a web browser or a computer where you've customized those, it might get confused and do the same thing, where it'll highlight something because it's thinking of underlining it or is thinking it's an error. Max amount of characters warning that some of you might have enabled on your web browser that says you can't type more than a certain number of characters for A, they don't want you to put in a long comment, or B, because it's a run-on sentence and it's doing a grammar check. Some of you might have installed a grammar routine. Next thing is a malware routine can just decide to install one of these annoying things and not tell you where it's coming from. Now, the last thing on the list is them. Yeah. A live or algorithm or bot-based moderator messing with you. Banned words, censored words, word filter systems. And also, again, these things can exist because you are technically still on Facebook, still on YouTube, whatever. And then we can have nanny programs. What if you're using a computer that your kid uses? Maybe it's the kid protector routine. It can be these and 100 other layers I can't even imagine. The reason for this being the answer you're getting for this video at 9 minutes and 15 seconds is a real simple answer. This has been a problem since 2017 or earlier on every kind of web browser, on every operating system, from Mac to PC to Linux. Every browser has listed when people even bother bringing it up. We're at 9 minutes and 30 seconds. So here's the universal fix that all of them said work. Give up trying to post the comment or type anything. I've actually done this myself. If you can see what you wanted to type and it's mostly still there, press Ctrl-A or highlight the whole thing. I recommend Ctrl-A. Then Ctrl-C for copying it. The equivalent on your Mac, go look it up. I don't know. Make a text file on your computer and paste it to it and then tell it to save it. On my machine, I'm using actual Notepad. Might be a 64-bit version, but it's Notepad. And it will cough up an error. Warning, there's a bunch of embedded characters and extended character set stuff here. And I always say, save it without it, because that's where the hidden code is. Then refresh the page. Try pressing Ctrl-V from the text file, not from the clipboard, not from your RAM, because you could have a corrupt RAM chip for all I know. Paste it from the text file and then hit post. If it doesn't turn anything red, you can post it. If it doesn't work at that point, you have to clear your cache for all of your browser sessions, log out, and start over. That means you're going to lose whatever you're reading. I have like 5 tabs open or 100 tabs with data. I have to save the session. If I save the session, I'm saving all the garbage that broke too. So I can't do it. So I just get all the addresses, you know, the pages I was looking at, save them as a text file, and then blank the session. And then I have to log back into Google or whatever. Now this goes quadruple for any browser run by a large corporation that's digging into your data. All Chrome browsers. You might have to just erase the thing and start over. And if you're on a cell phone, it goes triple, because cell phones are designed to store your data, not let go of it. And they screw up like this all the time because they're greedily hanging on to it. And that also goes for Apple. What's funny is if you're using a non-proprietary, non-name brand computer, an unbranded computer with a copy of Windows on it, you can get away with cleaning it easier because it doesn't have an in with the company that made the hardware as much. That does not qualify unless you have a really old Dell computer. Don't use Dell. It doesn't qualify. If you have an old Gateway 2000 computer and you go ahead and put on, you know, Windows XP or Windows 7, you won't have these problems as easily. But your newest web browser might do it. And the last I got to do this. I'm using an extremely modified version of Firefox that I dumped a bunch of plugins on to get it to stop being able to do this. It ignores anything that wants to mess with it. I don't even know how many cascading style sheet hacks and JavaScript things from YouTube, Google, and who knows who else that do these things. If I see this activity, I trace it out, I put the effort in, and I make a block list. That on top of the fact that I'm using a host file that blocks 99% of the crap on the planet, and then I'm not using AdBlock Plus, I'm using uBlock Origin, and YesScript, and Cookie Deleter, and I don't care about cookies thing that keeps me from seeing any pop-ups or warnings about anything, because it doesn't matter, because the warnings themselves don't need to show up. They're all dev nulled, they're all thrown in the trash. And every time I log off, I flush my computer with a routine called Crap Cleaner, another one that I forgot the name of, and one I wrote that ended up becoming part of Crap Cleaner. I wrote the aggressive mode, one of the many suggested algorithms for the aggressive mode that was turned in years ago to the people who made Crap Cleaner. I was one of hundreds of contributors that either was paid attention to or not. But I wrote the one that I wrote mine, and then I looked at what it did, and I just turned off the features I don't need. Mine aggressively cleans it to where it doesn't even know I've installed software for 4 years. And then dead last, I make sure all my programs are portable apps so that it doesn't have the ability for any of them to get into the operating system like a freaking virus. I was writing a comment. In the middle of the comment, it turned red. Changed words and sent a sentence, and it remained red. I couldn't remove the red from that comment. It was really strange. Secondary thing, embedded characters to change colors are allowed now on YouTube, which is the kiss of death. Why would a website do that? Also, if you hit the, God help you, if you hit the @ sign or the ampersand, it might decide you're doing a tag or trying to list some YouTube channel. It will interrupt what you're typing at the drop of a hat. It is incredibly infuriating. And most of these are cell phone functions that are very poorly implemented for the PC or vice versa. So the answer again is Ctrl-A, Ctrl-C, refresh the page, Ctrl-V, and if it doesn't turn anything red, hit post and cross your fingers and see if it works. Otherwise, you're going to have to lock your computer down more than I have, because even I get this once, maybe twice a month. And no, YouTube doesn't have the answer for it, because part of this is actually them messing with things and doing all sorts of really, really on-the-fly edits, and it's easy to confirm. I'll do a video, if somebody wants me to, showing it doing this. Like I hit save and it screws up the formatting and adds in extra characters, all the way to erasing shit when I didn't say so, or not erasing shit when I told it to. So yeah, it wasn't your imagination. It really is the system screwing with you, the ghost in this machine. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Good luck with it.